Jobs are fewer, streets are quieter, buildings once filled with life now stand empty. For many in the North, it's not just nostalgia, it's personal. What's really behind the slow fading of cities like Detroit, Cleveland, and Buffalo? These cities once stood tall as the pride of American industry. They built the cars, the steel, and the machines that powered the nation through war and prosperity. Their factories ran day and night, and families came from all over the country and the world chasing opportunity. But over time, something changed. Factories closed. Young people moved away. The heartbeat of the city began to slow. Today, these places are left with big footprints, wide roads, old factories, rows of houses, but far fewer people. So why are these once thriving cities now shrinking? Let's take a closer look at the forces that shaped their rise and what led to their quiet decline. Deindustrialization. One major reason these cities declined is something called deindustrialization, a big word that simply means factories started shutting down or moving away. Back in the 1952nd and 62nd, cities like Detroit, Cleveland, and Buffalo were filled with factory jobs. People built cars, made steel, and worked in shipping, and those jobs paid well. But starting in the 1972nd, factories began to leave. In Detroit, car companies like Ford and GM moved plants to cheaper places like the southern US, Mexico, and Canada. Detroit lost over 100,000 factory jobs between 1950 and 1990. Then came the oil crisis. Gas prices rose, and people started buying smaller, foreign-made cars. The big three automakers lost money fast, and companies like Chrysler nearly went bankrupt. In Cleveland, the steel industry collapsed. Cheaper steel from countries like Japan and Germany took over, and many old factories couldn't keep up. Plants closed, and thousands lost their jobs. Buffalo suffered too. The shipping industry declined after new routes bypassed the city, and factories closed soon after. By the early 1982nd, Buffalo had lost nearly a third of its factory jobs. As the jobs disappeared, so did the people, leaving behind empty homes, quiet streets, and struggling neighborhoods. Socio-fiscal challenges and urban decay. After industrial jobs disappeared, cities like Detroit, Cleveland, and Buffalo lost large parts of their populations, in some cases, over half. Detroit's population fell from nearly 2 million in 1950 to about 670,000 today, first from white flight, then later from black flight, with both groups moving to the suburbs. This mass exodus weakened the city's tax bases, leaving fewer resources to fund basic services like police, fire departments, and schools. Detroit even filed for bankruptcy in 2013, the largest ever by a U.S. city, as it struggled with unpaid pension promises and crumbling infrastructure. Buffalo and Cleveland also faced big budget problems, unable to fill key jobs or maintain streets and utilities built for much larger populations. The loss of residents and jobs left behind thousands of empty homes and businesses, causing property values to crash and entire neighborhoods to fall into decay. In Detroit alone, tens of thousands of buildings were vacant by 2014, and 1/3 of the city was estimated to be completely empty. Buffalo had the second highest number of vacant homes per person in the U.S., while Cleveland's home prices have remained low, with some neighborhoods still losing value. This urban blight made people feel less safe, pushed crime rates up, and discouraged new people and businesses from moving in, deepening the cycle of decline. Macroeconomic and policy factors. Another reason these cities declined has to do with big changes in the economy, both in the U.S. and around the world. In the 1992nd, the U.S. signed a trade deal called NAFTA. It allowed companies to build factories in countries like Mexico, where wages were lower. That meant a lot of jobs in cities like Detroit and Buffalo moved south. Then, in 2001, China joined the World Trade Organization, and suddenly, cheaper goods started pouring into the U.S. American factories couldn't compete with those low prices, so many shut down. Between 2001 and 2010, the Rust Belt lost around 1.5 million factory jobs. At the same time, a stronger U.S. dollar made American products more expensive in other countries, but made imported goods cheaper here. That hurt local businesses even more. On top of that, machines and robots started doing jobs that people used to do on the factory floor. Companies could make more with fewer workers, which meant a lot of people lost their jobs, even if the factory stayed open. Then came a big shift. The U.S. economy moved from making things to serving people. Jobs in hospitals, banks, and tech companies grew fast, but they often needed more education or training. Many workers from factory towns didn't have that, so they ended up with lower-paying jobs, or no jobs at all. In 2023, Detroit's metro area produced about $276 billion worth of goods and services. Cleveland's economy reached almost $140 billion, and Buffalo's came in at around $73 billion. Those are large numbers, but they don't tell the whole story. In Detroit, the jobless rate was 9.3% in mid-2025, better than it was years ago, but still higher than average. Cleveland and Buffalo are doing a bit better, with unemployment closer to 5% and 3%, though manufacturing jobs are still shrinking in some areas. In Detroit, the average household made just $38,000 in 2023, far below the state average. Cleveland was about the same, and Buffalo households earned around $46,000, which is much lower than the rest of Erie County. So while some parts of these cities are starting to grow again, many families are still working hard just to get by. Revitalization efforts and economic diversification. After years of decline, cities like Detroit, Cleveland, and Buffalo are trying to rebuild by investing in new industries and improving local services. Detroit began turning around after its 2013 bankruptcy by cutting debt, restoring services, and attracting big investments downtown. Projects like Ford's Michigan Central, backed by Google and the state, aim to make Detroit a hub for transportation, technology, and job training. The city is also turning empty land into parks and solar fields, while public grants help build new housing and support Black developers, though income gaps between Black and white residents remain wide. Cleveland has shifted its focus to healthcare, education, and tech. The Cleveland Innovation District has already created over 2,600 jobs, built research space, and trained thousands of people in science and medical fields. Buffalo is using state investments and local entrepreneurship to grow industries like restaurants, housing, and manufacturing. Programs are helping refugees and immigrants join the workforce, and new plans aim to fix up abandoned homes rather than tear them down. However, controversies like the Buffalo billion bid rigging scandal show that even well-funded efforts can face serious setbacks. And that's a closer look at why cities like Detroit, Cleveland, and Buffalo have faced such deep economic and population decline. What do you think the future holds for these cities? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. Thanks so much for watching. See you in the next one.